Hi guys, Hari here, I'm doing another VOD. Some people had asked me to show a game where, well, my team scrimmed or whatever, and normally that's a little bit difficult because typically the heroes that I play in scrims are the same heroes that I've already done videos of because they're just, I always play the same heroes. Panda, Batrider, Tinker, etc. I think I did a Tinker video. I didn't actually double check that I'd done that, but I'm pretty positive that I had. So anyway, I did manage to find one where I don't play a hero I've done a video before, I think, and it is actually one of my favorite heroes, but it's not one that I get to use very frequently. So I let the suspense kill you guys as we build up to actually seeing who that hero is. This is actually a scrim that we did it would be almost 2 weeks ago, so before the most recent patch, although that doesn't change too much, well, maybe a little bit with the drafting. And it's against what should be considered probably the top two, so for those that don't know, I'm in this South African tournament thingy, or at least I am for now. We'll see how long this lasts, actually, based on some changes with the South African servers coming. But for now, at least, I'm in this South African league tournament thingy. I mean, it's a league, but for those who don't know, I'm just saying a tournament thingy as well. And in Division 2, there's like Division 2, Division 1, Premier Division, so Division 2 is kind of like the lowest, and there's a bunch of groups. And anyway, this team we're playing against is probably the best team in Division 2. So I mean, they're probably like the 5th best South African Dota team, although maybe 4th now if Rocket disbanded. Not really sure how I would, where I would fall down on that line. But anyway, we are scrimming against them about 2 weeks ago, just before our last matches of the season, just to have gotten ready.
10 seconds
so
remaining.
Anyway, I'm drafting, and I can talk a little bit about that. I did ban Batrider first because I know it's actually a hero that they prioritize. Well, they actually valued Batrider over Nyx, and like I said, this was before the most recent changes. Before then, I would have valued Nyx over Batrider. Now, after the slight Nyx nerfs, I think I would probably say Batrider is my top priority hero in the game. But you can see they banned the Silverbear, knowing that King does have a very strong Silverbear. Also, this is kind of a little bit before I'd come to learn just how effective Lifestealer is. Right now, my two favorite heroes, obviously, to get in any draft would be getting Lifestealer next. I know this is a very Chinese thing, but anyway, so this is going to be a little bit outdated in that regard, but should still be fine. So you can see my second ban is actually Rubik. Instead of banning one of the really strong heroes that are still left in, like Magnus, Coddle, Nyx, I banned the Rubik. Because I assume that they'll take the Nyx, and that'll let me get the Coddle and the Magnus. Even though Coddle isn't amazing against Nyx, obviously, because you can Spike, Carapace, Illuminate, I'm still going to be perfectly happy with this turn of events, because it's going to let us to go into what you can see here, which is kind of a turtley lineup based around Phantom Lancer. Obviously, having Coddle Phantom Lancer is very effective as the game progresses. Well, very effective early on and as the game progresses. Coddle can make the lane very safe for him, and just guarantee that he can get farm. And then Magnus, good team fight ability like that, which also has reasonable synergy with the Ezlor, really can discourage them from trying to force team fights, which is one way you can kind of break a split pushing farming team, is just by, if you just have stronger 5 men than them, they can't fight you, then you can just go into their base. So, not going to let that happen here. And so yeah, so at this point, basically, I mean, the Phantom Lancer, the good thing usually about picking Ezlor so early is that you can, have very flexible lanes, although with the Phantom Lancer 3rd pick, my lanes are very, very obvious, especially because if anyone knows me, they'll know that I would never put Magnus in the off lane, or almost never, like 95% of the time never. So it is going to be a Magnus mid, and Ezlor plus Phantom Lancer safe lane, and then some solo off lane. It's most likely that they do want to try lane against us, which is why, well, you can see I banned the Quap, because Quap is an extremely effective mid against Magnus, and just a very good solo mid, or good hero in general. And I banned the Lifestealer because it's, even though Lifestealer has a lot of trouble against Phantom Lancer as the game progresses, like, you would never want a Lifestealer safe lane farming tri lane versus a Phantom Lancer safe lane farming tri lane, because, well, you would lose. But, I don't want them having the Lifestealer because it's a very good aggressive tri-lane, which can shut down the Phantom Lancer's farm quite effectively, and then they can just put the Weaver safe lane. And then I ban the Gyro, just because Gyro is a very good counter to Phantom Lancer. They already have the other very effective counter, which is the Shadow Demon. So they take the Puck. Puck doesn't have a ton of synergy with their picks so far. There's not like any AoE abilities that they can really set up with it, like a Darkseer or Magnus, etc. Or even Sand King at Earthshaker, anything like this. But at the same time, it's just a fine hero. And it does give them, if Nyx gets a blink, some nice ranged initiation. So for me now, I can't really try to pick a jungle hero. Well, what I can do is wait for my last pick to decide between taking a jungle hero and a support, but I don't really want to take a jungle hero. It just puts me too weak to an aggressive tri-lane, and they have a pretty solid aggressive tri-lane. Even just at this point, they could just go Weaver, Nyx, Shadow Demon, and that would still be a fine aggressive tri-lane. So I don't want to put myself soft to that, so I'd rather just take another support at this point. The 4 best supports are already off the table, which is obviously like Ezlor, Nyx, Shadow Demon, and Rubik. So kind of have to go a little bit farther down the pole. Something like a Jakiro would actually be decent because it has pretty good synergy with the Magnus. And that's actually what I'm going to pick. Obviously being able to Ice Wall into the reverse polarity targets. And it's just another pretty good defensive support. It's pretty difficult to kill because it has high HP, which is important. It's because it can be up a little bit closer to protect the Phantom Lancer while the Ezlor is further back. And so then we see they pick up the Mirana, which shows that they're actually going to do a Mirana aggressive tri-lane, which isn't something we see too frequently, but has a lot of potential to work, because if they can get someone away from his team without creeps, they can disruption him into arrow into stun, or into stun into arrow, etc. Probably into arrow into stun, because if you stun an arrow, then the Mirana is going to be too far back, not dealing damage long enough. So I actually want to go with a really cheesy pick here. So basically, a lot of the good offlaners are already taken, or kind of out of here.
10 seconds remaining.
To some extent. And at this point I know it's going to be solo versus solo, so I could kind of try to get something that matches up well against Weaver. There is Clinks, which I think is fine against Weaver, but and Clinks is decent against their team. But I actually want something that can just make a little bit more space for the Phantom Lancer by drawing more attention away. So I'm actually going to go with the Brood. Brood is a hero who a lot of teams forget about. You really always have to still respect this hero. I think it did get picked up once recently. But basically, like, if a team at some point, you're up against a team which has no effective counter to a Brood, then it's just a really easy situation to just kind of pick up the Brood and go for it. But the problem is there's so many common effective counters, like Darkseer you can just put up against him in the lane. They can always pick a Sand King afterwards, because Sand King's still a very decent hero. I mean, Ezlor is pretty good at clearing off Spiderlings as well, etc. But here they don't really have anything that's that great against it, or at least that's what I think. It's actually going to turn out that Weaver is a little bit better at laning against Brood than I had thought. With the low cooldown, low mana cost Sakuchi, it can actually, like, 2 Sakuchis can kill off all the Spiderlings if you're not careful. So it's maybe not as amazing as a matchup as I thought, but it's still a good enough one to justify it. And on the Brood, well, I don't actually know this at the time. I'm kind of speaking hindsight as 2020. I can pick up a relatively fast Orchid, which is going to be very effective against pretty much actually every hero on MFB, because they all have defensive abilities, and being able to Orchid them will really hinder that. So generally for my team these days I'm actually playing support just because I captain and have to give commands, but there are a few heroes which I actually play myself, either solo mid or solo offlane, which is like, you know, Brood, Panda, Tinker, although we're going to work on the Tinker hopefully soon here. But so we are going to have, I guess, for those that don't know, King, who is our one player, the carry player, will be on the PL. Akis, who is our mid, will be playing the Magnus. Ate, who normally plays the 3 position, which would be my offlane, is actually going to take support for me playing the Ezlor. And Halberd will be playing the Jakiro.
10 seconds remaining.
So yeah, what I suspect at this point, obviously, is that they'll be sending the Puck mid, aggressive Charlie with Mirana, and Weaver safe lane, which I think sets us up pretty well. They do have a pretty reason. I don't know. I mean, a Mirana tri-lane, aggressive tri-lane, it's so hit or miss. Just because, let's do this.
Prepare for battle.
Just because, and actually there's going to be a pause, so I'm going to have to fast forward through this. I mean, if you hit arrows, it can be very good. If you don't hit arrows, it can be very not good. And she's not the most amazing CSer of all time, so a little bit of joking around here about they're very unhappy with our unmannered strategy of taking both Brood and PL, and anyway, that's basically that, and we're going to get into the game now, and I'll again have myself on player perspective. So actually I did get pooled here. Let's see how much. Did I actually get pooled 2 pieces for regen? God, that is just greedy. 250, 400, yeah. Pooled 2 pieces, pooled a Tango and a Salve. That's real greedy, and I actually am not going to end up even using the Salve, so that was extremely greedy. I mean, basically, I kind of have a little bit of a little bit of everything item build going on here. I'm going to go for a 4-man shield and go for a fast soul ring. I think this is probably a mistake, trying to go for both of these. In fact, I'm not even... Oh, dodge, arrow dodge. Not even sure if I need to go for that, the 4-man shield. I don't... Well, Weaver can do a decent amount of harassment. She has pretty high base damage now. not really sure if it's a good decision or not, if I should just rush the Soul Ring. I mean, basically, I shouldn't have the recipe and the two-thirds of the Poor Man's Shield. Either the fast recipe or two-thirds of the Poor Man's Shield would be enough. And then I wouldn't have needed to whore myself out to my supports for so much regen. So anyway, obviously we go webs level 1, come down to our lane, place the webs down. Sometimes you can do tricky things where you show them webs somewhere and then you go somewhere else. Like,
the
put
battle
webs down
begins
here really fast and then actually go top so that they kind of set up differently based on what they think. But here, I'm pretty certain. I mean, I would be happy for them to know that I'm bottom and come bottom with a tri-lane and try to stop me because I mean, the most important thing is that the PL farms. So I'm not really going to be too concerned with substitutions. So I did see a haste there, so there's really no reason for me not to just go grab it, which is what I'm going to do. It's not like I'm offlane versus tri-lane. I expect the tri-lane's top. So, and actually, I know the tri-lane's top because we already saw the arrow. So I'm just pinging here because my very smart teammate doesn't actually know how to counter ward, and because he's so busy not paying attention to that, he's actually going to give a very fast first blood. But that is neither here nor there. It doesn't matter for my personal perspective. Just, well, so I am at about, let's see, if I click on the Weaver, click on myself, yeah. I'm actually at about 9 lower base damage than the Weaver, so the Weaver has a pretty decent time just trying to CS against me, and I know that I want to start my harassment as soon as possible, if I can. So it's basically going to be my goal, but I've got to get at least level 2 so that I can start spawning spiderlings. And even level 3 would be preferable because spawning just one spiderling isn't really going to be the most effective in the world. So for now, I'm actually just denying a little bit, just getting whatever I can. But the lane is actually going to be pushed, so I'm going to have to throw out a new web, which is unfortunate because my second web was actually the lower one, which means there's a gap in the web coverage now. So hopefully I can pick up level 4 before I have to go back down there, because, well, I don't want to have to drop down another web, waste more mana in between. So you can see here I'm just taking every opportunity I have to kind of hit the Weaver a little bit. I do have that pooled regen, so it's pretty easy for me. And you see I actually spawn a spiderling here though, but it actually is auto-attacking, which is a little bit salty. So yeah, that's just going to die right away, which is unfortunate because it's just giving him free golden experience. And I'm going to completely fail to last hit under the tower. The good news is, no matter whether you fail last hit under the tower or not, you still get experience, which as I talked about is what I really need. Let's see, I do get one of these, yeah, one last hit out of like 6. So again, just going to continue harassing the Weaver. So generally speaking, with Brood against a solo, what you're going to do is just try to make a bunch of spiders as quickly as possible. Usually at like level 3, with the 2 points in spawn spiderlings, you can start making spiders, making additional ones by using them to help you cast down creeps, and then using all these spiders just to harass the against out of the lane, because they do some amount of dot damage and physical damage, which is rather difficult to deal with. Here I'm actually failing to last it a little bit, but it's kind of okay because the important thing here is just to make sure that I actually get more spiderlings. Or at least that's what I think. You can see there is that gap in the web placement. I don't want to place another web, so I'm actually just going to hang out kind of in this area until I get the one more level, and then I can quickly skill up webs and place another one down. And I'm close to getting my soul ring now. You should always get a soul ring on Brood. I see some people who rush an orchid don't actually get it. I think this is ridiculous. It's such an inexpensive item. You can see I'm actually using my spiderlings there to harass the Weaver a little bit, and unfortunately she actually ends up killing a fair amount of them, which kind of changes my opinion a little bit about what I should actually be doing. Maybe not throwing away so many spiderlings. Maybe the spiderling harassment just isn't quite as effective as I thought it would be against her. I guess we'll see going forward. But I do have enough for my soul ring now, so I'm going to go buy that. Doesn't actually matter that I didn't deny those 2 creeps, since the Weaver is actually rotated or moved all the way back to her tower to try to stay safe for me. So I'm going to just continue creating spiderlings and continue the harassment. What I actually should be doing is I should be taking these spiders and go and farming neutral camps right away. But because like my plan kind of revolves around the idea that if they have an aggressive tri-lane top, Brood should be able to win her lane. I'm actually really focused on the idea of just kind of crushing this person in lane, and maybe, and I mean, obviously, like, if I'm, like, farming in lane, I'm probably farming a little bit better than she is, as I can harass him because I have web regen, and my spiderlings are farming in the jungle. Like, this is still going to be an advantage in this lane, but, like, I basically want more of an advantage. I want to be able to crush this person to draw them away from top so that the PL has space to farm. So that's kind of why I haven't started sending my spiderlings into the jungle yet, which is actually what I probably should be doing, as I've, well, at least in hindsight, realized that spiderlings aren't super effective at killing a Weaver. A lot of heroes you can actually just completely force out of the lane with spiderlings, but the Weaver is not so much one of them. So you see here, I see that this is a relatively low Weaver, so I want to try to create some sort of pressure. And I'm going to throw down a web for her. I want to chase one spiderlings into her, but she's actually forced me back. Again, I don't want to lose all these spiderlings. So actually, I think I'm just going to animate the spiderlings rather than sending this blast in her. But again, you can see she kills a fair number of them there. I actually haven't set them, I think, as a separate control group yet, which I probably should have done, so that I could actually be just sending them back and not have to run back myself. But here you see I finally do have them as a separate control group. I'm actually, yeah, finishing my Poor Man's Shield. It actually, I right-click on it, and for some reason it doesn't realize that I have 1 Slippers of Agility in my inventory already. You see, actually, the Weaver lets herself get dangerously low there. If I'd actually gotten one more right-click off before spawning spiderlings into her, she might have actually paid not enough attention and just let me kill her. Or I could have used my ultimate, although, again, I wasn't expecting that she would, well, kind of let me tank, or let me deal that much damage to her. I should have actually bought my boots while I was over there, too. I think maybe I'm going to go do that now. And again, I actually don't have the control group. Well, it's tough to say because it does some weird control things with control groups, with spiders, where it kind of forgets some of them sometimes. Also, I don't know, actually, I didn't realize in the game that, I mean, the Weaver had kind of been retreating back to her tower. I assumed just to regen, like, I assumed she had regen items. I guess I wasn't checking her items as frequently as I should be. So I actually assumed that she's just back under the tower, regenning right now, but I actually realized that she actually went all the way back to the fountain. So this gives me a decent chance to actually deal some damage to the tower. If I'd known that she went back sooner, I obviously wouldn't have gone and bought my boots, and I would have instead pressured the tower a lot more. But it's going to be okay. As you can see, we're still winning our lane pretty handily, although as a Brood, that's what we should be doing. So again, we can see how much damage she's doing for spiderlings. So every time this happens, every time she runs through them with Sakuchi, you can see, I think, yeah, now I finally maybe set up the control group correctly, and now it actually has all the spiderlings. So obviously I set myself to 1 and all my spiderlings to 2. You can see though, just with like one time running through my spiderlings, she actually just does a ton of damage to them. So well, basically I send them back into the web just to regen for a little while, so then they can come back and harass. But this never really ends up happening, because anytime I try to go harass her, she just scoochies right away, and then my spiderlings are on the back foot because I don't want them to just all die off. So like I said, it's not very that effective of harassment. Her doing things like this though is pretty ineffective though. Like running through the spiderlings when I'm not trying to hit her with them, I mean, it's just going to force them back again, but now like it just frees them up to do other things. Well, no, that's not what it does, but basically, I mean, it just makes me move them back anyway, but like, she could have at least waited until I made an effort to harass her. Just doing that while I'm killing creeps, it just gives me a couple more seconds in which they would be regenning. But again, it does kind of finally make me realize that this isn't actually going to work, and instead I should be harassing her by lobbing spawn spiderlings into her rather than into the creeps and using those spiders that it creates to harass, which is generally what you should be doing. Usually, I mean, you certainly can harass people using spawn spiderling charges with, I don't know why I say that, you Toby, with soul ring spam, but generally speaking it's actually better just to make spiders and harass using the spiders, but not against a Weaver, apparently. That's what we learned from here. Denied. For those of you wondering, I mean, I am Brood, so I hope you all understand what being a Brood entails. I'm not going to be leaving this lane, basically. So if you want a game where I'm going around and being involved in fights, this is probably not that game. You're just going to see me basically sitting this lane the entire game.
Under attack.
And I told you this is a relatively quick one, so it's not even going to be a lot of time me sitting in this lane. But yeah, so just you were forewarned. Okay, so you can see, actually, I'm going to do some tread swapping now. At least when I first get my treads. At some point, I'll become so lazy that I'm going to stop doing that. For those that don't know, tread swapping, well, with Brood, basically what that means is that when you use your soul ring, you want to have your treads on red. When you cast spawn spiderlings, you want to have your treads on blue, and, well, that's basically the gist of it. And I guess when you're hitting a Weaver and you have plenty of regen, you want to have your treads, or you're CSing, you want to have your treads on green. Which is basically, like I said, what I'm going to do temporarily, but at some point I'm going to have had enough of that and start not doing it and being lazy. Probably once I get a little bit more regen, there's less of a need for me to be mana efficient. We can see there she actually tried the blind Sakuchi on my spiders. Actually didn't end up hitting, which is good because it now lets me continue to use these spiders. She Shikuchis me again. See that 5 times fast. You can see actually here I'm going to go send them into the jungle again. Unfortunately, they are going to get spotted out by one creep because I wasn't basically tanking the creeps, so I'm actually going to have to send them back now because I don't want her to realize that I'm clearing the jungle camps and maybe go try to steal one from me. I do kill the range creep there, and now she actually, see again, this is the situation where if she just got one more Sakuchi on them, they would actually have all, well, a bunch of them would have died and given her a bunch of CS. You can see she has 35 CS. That's actually not exceptionally good. Well, I mean, obviously she's facing a lot of harassment, but I mean, like, if you consider that the spiders are very easy CS and, like, probably constitute at least a third of what she has, you've got to be pretty happy with the amount, with how low CS she has. Obviously, also with being the top CS in the game. Also, she, at least a couple of these times, I mean, generally speaking, what I do is, like, I I spawn spiderlings her from right next to her, so it's very difficult for her to squeeze in time, but that one I think she could have done it. Maybe she didn't have the mana or the cooldown, I'm not really sure. But it was probably maybe just a poor reaction there. We are playing against a South African team on European servers, so maybe they'd just gotten used to playing on South African servers before this game, and then suddenly playing on European servers, don't really know. But yeah, just continuing to basically do what I do as a Brood. Shooting another spawn spiderlings with the Weaver, hoping to continue to force her back, and I think, no, well, I maybe suspected that she was actually going back to base this time, because she disappeared again for a long time, and I realized
Radiant's middle
back
tower
to base.
is under
But in
attack.
fact, she's actually just carried herself to solid and clarity. So time to back all these spiderlings off. I would have liked to get a hit on her, kind of break that clarity, but yeah, just a little bit slow on that one. You can see, yeah, I kind of already stopped correctly tread swapping like there. I didn't actually switch to red before using my soul ring. It's not that big of a deal because, as you can see, with the amount of regen I have from the webs, I've actually not really gotten close and not even needed to use the salve that I've been carrying the entire time that I forced my force supports to buy for me. As far as skill build goes, obviously we're always going to max spawn spiderlings. There is something to be said, at least, for only 3 points in spawn spiderlings, because the number of spiders that it spawns doesn't go up, and like I said, usually spawn spiderlings, our top priority is making more spiders with it, not necessarily harassing with it. But especially here, I ended up maxing it, and in general, I think maxing it is pretty important. Just having a few control problems here, I think. And then secondarily, with max webs. I mean, there's a lot of variation on how we can do this. Some people would pick up a very early point in Insatiable Hunger. I didn't do that because, well, it's not going to be very effective for harassing a Weaver who can move maximum anyway. Against some people, I might actually pick up that 1 point in it just for that little bit of slow, just kind of making the difference between being able to continually run after someone hitting them or not. And so the other variations, in addition to that, you can see I'm actually starting in my Orchid now, which I have finally realized that, yeah, I definitely want to get an Orchid. The other variations is some people will just go 4-4, 4 points in spawn spiderlings and 4 points in webs, whereas some people will pick up their ultimate at level 6. You can see that I did pick up my ultimate at level 6. I think because, well, actually I don't know exactly why I didn't pick it up. It doesn't really end up mattering because I haven't needed the web regen so much, although the web regen does help my spiderlings as well, so maybe that would have been a more effective pickup. And I did just end up picking up the 1 point in Insatiable Hunger before 4 points in webs, actually because, as I said, that I haven't really needed the web regen, because the first tower hasn't died yet, the tier 1 tower bottom, I haven't needed to place more webs, so the additional level in webs has kind of felt a little bit unnecessary. And yeah, so either way, you basically by level 11, the way you want to be looking is 4 points in spawn spiderlings, 4 points in webs, 1 point in Insatiable Hunger, and 4 points in your ult. Oh wait, sorry, Insatiable Hunger is actually the ultimate. Incapacitating Bite is the passive that I was talking about. So when I said Insatiable Hunger before, I meant Incapacitating Bite, sorry. It's been a little while since I played Brood. But yeah, so 1 point in passive, 2 points in ultimate, 4 points in webs and spawn spiderlings, which is basically where I'm going to be. Yeah, so just continuing to harass this Weaver. Do actually have enough to finish my first Oblivion staff now and pick up a Sage's Mask. This will mean that I have to use my Soul Ring even less. Not that I've really needed to, well, not that it really matters, because, like I said, I've had plenty of health, so I'm still just going to continue using my Soul Ring. Additionally, it should, while using my Soul Ring, help me maybe get to a higher total mana. I can see that the Weaver, generally speaking, when the Weaver backs off to regen for a little bit, I guess with the Tranquils and whatnot, she comes back with the next creep wave, so I can see that she's not back with this creep wave, and I don't see her anywhere near here, which makes me assume that she probably has gone back to base. So it's time to start taking this tower.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
And try to do as much damage as possible. I should actually switch my treads to green after using ultimate with the and so you do that with the tower. It's perfectly fine to use your ultimate to try to deal a little bit more DPS to the tower. I mean, a lot of people focus just on the lifesteal, but it's certainly not insignificant that you get an additional 60 damage, which can help you bring down a tower pretty quickly. So now that tower's dead, it's time to continue my web terrain further down this lane. You can see that I probably don't need all 4 of those back there, and eventually some of them will get replaced. But this web here, I mean, it's pretty important. Basically, you should always leave just a little bit of space between your webs, never have them on top of each other, because, like, you know, the debuff, there's like a fade time on being, I'm not sure if it's actually described in here. No, it's not specifically, but basically, like, there's a delay from the time you move out of the web before you lose the being in the web buff. So you don't actually need the webs all to be touching. You can have some space in between the webs so that, like, when you run from one web to the other, you get into the next web before the previous web's web buff wears off. Not debuff, but buff. So you can kind of see that I have done that between this web down here and the previous web, which was right by the tower. It should be just about the requisite amount of space. So there's a fair amount of fighting going on top, so I assume that the Weaver's probably going up there, which obviously I can see in this replay she actually is doing. So I am going to try to pressure this tower. I mean, basically this is what I should always be doing. I want to be pressuring as much as possible, even if it's not necessarily extremely successful. You're going to see me place down another web here, and you can see there's a bit of space, as I was talking about. Even if my pressure isn't necessarily extremely successful, just because I want to get their team focused away from the PL. That's the most important thing. And so again, I'm going to ult up and try to deal as much damage as I can to this tower, and yeah, bring all my spiderlings in, trying to take this bad boy down as quickly as possible. And it looks like since the Weavers rotate top, I actually am trying to get a free tower here. You can see that the SD, well, he was thinking about TPing and then decided against it. Might have been a good, well, he didn't actually know that I had web on cooldown. Because I had web on cooldown, it would have actually been kind of difficult for me to kill him, because normally what I would want to do in a situation like that is place the web on top of the tower, use it to run quickly with myself and my spiderlings, and then go surround him and kill him. So maybe it was I mean, if no one else was going to TP anyway, there's really no reason for him to be TPing, so it was actually fine. TP cancel. Although maybe he shouldn't have TP'd in the first place, maybe just a little bit of miscommunication. So here you can see I send my spiderlings in first because I don't want to actually get stomped myself, and yeah, I'm going to continue farming this. So, yeah, I missed target there. Centauri's just so fat. It's never a bad thing to kind of use your soul ring before you even need to use it, just so that you get the cooldown coming back again. So here we can see that because I don't know where at least a couple of them are, and because the lane is pushed up so far, I have backed off a little bit. At this point, it becomes a little bit more difficult for me to pressure, because obviously there's no more outer towers for me to take, and taking a tier 3 with Brood isn't very easy. In fact, this is one of the reasons that a very popular item, and you can see my Orchid is done now, a very popular item for Brood, which was, I think it was NS, who kind of gave a little bit of a lecture, written article type thing a little while ago about playing Brood, in which he advocated going for Manta first, which really helps taking high ground faster. We can see that, yeah, the Weaver does actually have a gem. I'd really hope to be able to just come surprise the Weaver with my Orchid here and just kill her from invis. Unfortunately, her having a gem is going to prevent that from happening, and it's going to make killing my spiderlings a little bit easier. I'm not really completely sure what I want to be doing here, because I know I want to kill the Weaver. I know basically that's like the form of pressure I can create now, but she's actually doing a good job just continuing with Gucci. I'm not really worried about my health though. Actually, yeah, I'm just going to call GG's. I'm not really worried about my health because I know I have insatiable hunger, so I can, like, if she does decide to try to stand and fight me, I can always do that to her. I'm just going to go for the Orchiding here, just because I have nothing else to do. They've already DC'd, or GG'd and DC'd. Unfortunately, that's not going to deal near enough damage. But yeah, so that's actually that. I didn't realize that this was actually a 16-minute GG. That's a lot faster than I thought it was, so I'm sorry. I'm still going to post this video anyway, just because I actually took the time to go through all this, and I haven't posted a video in a while. Again, like I said, because I feel that, well, I'm kind of playing much of the same here. So I will get this video up, and then hopefully do some other sort of video soon. I think I'll be scrimming tonight, maybe, so hopefully one of the games tonight will actually be something interesting. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So everyone, thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.